The killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk has thrust a little-known group into the spotlight. Armed Queers Salt Lake City, or SLC, is now under intense federal scrutiny after Kirk, the 31-year-old co-founder of Turning Point USA, was shot dead during an event at Utah Valley University last week. Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna has directly linked Armed Queers Salt Lake City to Tyler Robinson, calling it an extended network under FBI investigation. Luna also questioned possible funding connections between the group and left-wing benefactors, raising concerns about broader affiliations.
The State Department cuts off funding for an NGO who was funding a group that is now under investigation by the FBI. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for your NRA certification of multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. If you like channel, like content, what I do, you can support me with a link. Everything's appreciated. Online store is open. CGB20 will get you 20% off, free shipping. Connecticut residents, you got to pay the sales tax. I have no say, but CGB20 gets you 20% off. Let's talk about this. And this is a bombshell kind of a story. It's coming out of Blaze Media. And once again, I want to thank them and Glenn Beck, which is part of his organization, for bringing this story out, because the mainstream media is not going to talk about it. There is an NGO called Utah Global Diplomacy. And the State Department has cut off all their funding because apparently they were funding a group called Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. Now the FBI is investigating this group and several others with the idea that they had foreknowledge of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Now I've talked about NGOs before. If you remember, I did a video that anti-gun groups were getting taxpayer money through these NGOs. Now that they've been cut off, states like Connecticut have been using taxpayer money to fund them directly. But this NGO apparently has scrubbed their social media, Instagram, and made their website private. So you have to be logged in to view anything on their website. This is kind of a big deal, but I want to give you complete information. Like I said, Blaze Media is breaking this. I want to give them the credit for it, but I'm going to go through each step here because it's very important what is being done here. Let me bring you into this. State Department cuts ties with Armed Queers affiliated NGO. Utah Global Diplomacy, which had awarded a trans-identifying radical, first scrubbed, then locked down its website. The FBI has been investigating whether trans activist groups and other radicals had foreknowledge of the Charlie Kirk assassination plot. A law enforcement source confirmed to the New York Post that one of the radical leftist groups that investigators have been looking at is Armed Queers Salt Lake City. The scrutiny of Armed Queers has evidently rattled some cages, prompting the State Department to take decisive action. Armed Queers SLC is a radical socialist outfit that stated in its now deleted Instagram group that it was a revolutionary LGBTQ organization dedicated to the defense and success of supposedly oppressed peoples. A membership form for the socialist group identifies 6 principles, including the armed and militant protection of queer and trans communities and trans liberation of the gender binary and biological existentialism. Now, I have the membership form, and it's kind of hard to read because they have you have to sign in. So you have to create an account to be able to even look at it. But this is their 6 steps. The armed and militant protection of queer and trans communities and all oppressed people. The end of capitalist oppression and exploitation and the creation of a socialist society. Trans liberation from the gender binary and biological existentialism. The end of the commodification of housing by landlords and the recognition of housing as a human right. The abolition of prisons and police as they serve as nothing but tools of capitalist oppression. Dismantling the bourgeois nonprofit industrial complex and replacing it with an organized revolutionary movement. Now, There's a set of questions you have to answer, and the one that caught my eye is this. Armed Queers SLC is a socialist organization that organizes in different movements in addition to promoting self-defense for queer and trans people. What drew you to socialist ideals? And of course, there's more questions here, but that's their membership form that you fill out. The group told Voyage Utah in a July 2024 interview, "We have organized, educated, and agitated within LGBTQ and anti-imperialistic and labor movements towards a socialist future." In addition to referring to training sessions in Cuba for its members as part of a yearly May Day brigade, the group has shared various radical sentiments and quotations on social media in recent weeks. For example, in a post titled Black August, the group shared a quote from George O. Jackson, who is a Marxist who was convicted of armed robbery and accused of murdering a prison guard, that read, quote, "Settle your quarrels, come together, understand the reality of our situation, understand that fascism is already here, that people are dying who could be saved, that generations more will live poor, butchered half-lives if you fail to act. Do what must be done. Discover your humanity and love in revolution." Following Kirk's assassination, allegedly by a leftist with a trans-identifying boyfriend, Armed Queers began scrubbing and deleting its social media profiles. Why? But this is the radical that, one of them at least, P.A.N, who's trans, who as of last year, he was an active organizer of Armed Queers and a student at the University of Utah. Where Armed Queers is concerned, P.A.N is, however, apparently far more than just an organizer. The LGBT gun rights group Pink Pistols confirmed on Monday that P.A.N, who is among the LGBT activists who supported Massachusetts Governor Senator Elizabeth Warren's presidential campaign in 2019, and at one point allegedly appeared on stage with the senator, was a University of Utah student who ran the Salt Lake City Pink Pistols chapter from 2020 to 2021. Interesting, this person is a student at University of Utah, but quote, "While initially welcomed, she began using the Pink Pistols name to promote broader political issues, violating our rule that we are a single-issue organization devoted solely to the safe, legal, and responsible use of firearms by the queer community," Pink Pistols said in a statement. In 2021, her group and Pink Pistols parted way, and she renamed her organization Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. It turns out that Pink Pistols is not the only organization that has distanced itself from P.A.N. A spokesman for Senator Warren told Blaze News in a statement, Senator Warren disavows any and all violence and believes that violence against anyone for their political beliefs is an attack on our entire democracy, even though she's part of this issue of political violence. But now this is the NGO. Utah Global Diplomacy is an NGO that has hosted international exchange programs for the State Department to welcome foreign nationals to Utah for short-term professional and cultural experiences. The outfit is supposedly guided by the idea that citizens have a responsibility to, quote, help shape U.S. foreign relations one handshake at a time. The famous analyst, Data Republican, and I did a story on that NGO story. This is the person who is exposing what these NGOs are actually doing with the money that they get from the government, which is your money. Highlighted on Monday, the P.A.N, who indicated in a now deleted 2019 student profile that he was originally from Iran, was recognized by the nonprofit organization Utah Global Diplomacy in September 2022 with its 7 for 17 award. Although Utah Global Diplomacy scrubbed the irrelevant award page and as of Wednesday had password protected its entire site, an archived UGD page still refers to the radicals' receipt of the award, as does a August 25th, 2022 post on Instagram. The award recognizes young Utahns working to achieve the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which exemplifying Utah Global Diplomacy's core value of respect, social responsibility, and open dialogue, says an archive page. Each 7 for 17 award winner must demonstrate a commitment to meeting one or multiple of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals through novel, innovative, or unique means. And this person won this award, but I'm not going to get into that. Data Republican noted SLC Armed Queers is not adjacent to the honor that Amira P.A.N got from Utah Global Diplomacy. Utah Global Diplomacy specifically awarded her for her work with trans people, of which SLC Armed Queers is key. This may be why they scrubbed their pages. But the State Department source confirmed to Blaze News that any ties to Utah Global Diplomacy, which existed indirectly via an external implementer, are being completely severed and dismantled. This could prove greatly consequential for the NGO as a bulk of its funding takes the form of government grants. Quote, we are taking aggressive action to ensure that any implementer that has any relationship whatsoever with this radical organization is completely cut off from any State Department engagement, said the source. Senator Marco Rubio revealed this week that the State Department has also begun revoking visas of individuals who have celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Let me come out of that. Now, once again, I gave you all that because I wanted to make sure that you got the complete picture. This Utah NGO was receiving government funding, and they were funding this Armed Queers SLC group. The FBI is looking at these radical groups because they are suspecting that they had foreknowledge of Charlie Kirk's assassination. So now, once again, we're finding out that our taxpayer money was going towards things that we would not agree with, which is really damn disturbing. This is exposing another ideal that we had no knowledge of, that now is being fully investigated to find out what they knew about Charlie Kirk's assassination prior to it happening. That's what they're alleging here, that these groups, or some of these groups, had foreknowledge. And it's interesting that this person who runs this group, Armed Queers SLC, is a University of Utah student. Is just, man, it can't be a coincidence. It can't be. But I wanted to expose fully what's going on because, as I said, the mainstream media is not talking about this. This should be a national story, but it's not. Why? That's a rhetorical question. I know why. You know why. So we're going to see if anything comes of this, if any of these groups come under the hammer and indictments are handed down, or if they find out that they did have knowledge, or maybe they didn't. But it's interesting that as soon as the FBI started rattling in a cage, they start deleting all their social media information. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time the video goes live. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.